In this video, I am going to talk about some hacks for intermittent fasting and optimizing your hormonal balance. Intermittent fasting is so hot right now, and I feel like it's a hot topic because some people either really love it or they hear the negative parts about it and what it can do to your hormones. So in this video, I'm going to talk all about how to optimize fasting with some hacks and how to make sure you are supporting your hormonal balance as well. Hello, I am Tina Haupert. I am the woman behind the Carrots and Cake brand. Carrots and Cake is all about having your carrots and cake too. It is very much an 80-20 approach to nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, life in general. And on this channel, you are going to hear me talk about weight loss and fat loss, changing your body composition, hormonal balance, minerals, strength training, fitness, and so much more. So be sure to subscribe so you are up to date about when I release a new video. Okay, so let's jump right into this topic. Like I was saying, intermittent fasting, so hot right now. I feel like everybody is talking about it, and there are a lot of benefits. I mean, obviously, a lot of people use it as far as fat loss goes because it's just kind of a natural way to restrict your calories or at least put them in a shorter eating window. It can help as far as making your body a little bit more sensitive to insulin and that insulin response. There's a lot of good things about intermittent fasting, but it can also be really stressful on the body. And if you are a woman who is still menstruating, you're still getting your period every single month, adding too much fasting into your daily life can actually be really harmful and can mess up your hormones. And I have worked with a number of women over the years where fasting initially helped, and then it led to all sorts of hormonal imbalances, metabolism issues, and the women just not feeling their best. So I'm going to get into some hacks and some details about really optimizing your cycle and what you're doing with the fasting, because I think a lot of times women think there's just one way to lose weight or one thing is going to be the magic bullet that's going to help them lose weight. And I think that's kind of where fasting has come in, that if you do this intermittent fasting thing, you are automatically going to lose weight. And I don't think it happens that way all the time. Sure, it can absolutely help for some people, like if you have major blood sugar issues, metabolic issues, things like that. Sure, I think it can be very, very helpful. But at the same time, I think if you are somebody who is active, you are exercising, you might have hormonal imbalance, something like that going on, adding in the fasting is just so much more stress on the body. And a lot of times it can lead you to undereat, and undereating is also very, very stressful on the body as far as hormonal balance goes. So there's a few things going on as far as this tactic when it comes to fat loss and being able to really optimize your hormones. So we'll get into those details. One thing I want to point out about intermittent fasting is that it's just one tool or one way to change your body composition and lose weight. There are other ways to lose weight. I mean, obviously there's the typical diet, calorie restriction, but there's other things as far as adding more strength training to your routine, eating more protein, eating more fiber, balancing your minerals, getting really in tune with your hormones and optimizing your hormonal balance. Because sure, if your hormones are out of whack, it's going to be a lot harder to lose weight. So I think a lot of times women think this is like the magical way to lose weight. And sure, intermittent fasting can be one of the things that you do to lose weight, but I don't think it should be the only thing that you focus on, because you don't need to do it all month long as far as your cycle goes. And I really think paying attention to those different phases of your cycle and really optimizing that fasting window can make a lot of sense as far as how you were feeling and getting you the best results when it comes to your body composition. Because our bodies, they want to be in balance. They want to maintain that homeostasis. Like if there's a little push, there's a little pull. You want to make sure things are in balance. And when you are adding in that intermittent fasting, it can be really helpful and beneficial. But at the same time, too much of it can be really harmful and negative. So I'm going to talk about how to do this exactly, working with each phases of your cycle. And when I'm talking about how to optimize your cycle, I'm speaking to a regular 28-day cycle, and that's what we go off of. But of course, your cycle might be 2 days longer, 2 days shorter. And of course, all of that is very, very normal. But when I'm talking about the traditional 28-day cycle that we hear about again and again. So when you're listening to these recommendations, if your cycle's longer or shorter, just adjust by however many days. And no, it's totally normal to have a cycle that's 30 days or 26 days, as long as it's coming pretty regularly. But just wanted to point that out as I'm referring to the days of the cycle, that it's based on that 28-day cycle. Okay, so let's start at the beginning here with the follicular phase. So the follicular phase is the first half of your cycle. It's typically days 1 through 10, and it's from the first day where you start to bleed of your period. And this is when hormones are really low, and estrogen is starting to climb. Eventually, testosterone will climb a little bit too, but this is when hormones are at their lowest and could be a really good time to add in some of that intermittent fasting. So the traditional is the 16-8, so fasting up to 16 hours. I mean, of course, if you're used to fasting, you could maybe go longer, but this is where if you wanted to do this intermittent fasting, it would probably be the best time to do it. And when estrogen is building in the first half of that cycle, you want to keep your insulin down. So this might be a time where you're a little bit more moderate with your carbohydrate intake. And carbohydrates, they're not bad. If you're somebody who is exercising on the regular, you need carbohydrates. They are good. But this first half of your cycle with estrogen slowly increasing, you might want to be a little bit more moderate or focus on those good carbs that have fiber in them, that digest a little bit more slowly, or placing those carbohydrates around your workout so they are better utilized. So having carbs before your workout, having carbs after your workout. But basically, you just want your estrogen to show up in the best way possible in that first half of the cycle. And like I was saying, this could be a good time from days 1 to 10 to add in that intermittent fasting. So go crazy. Enjoy your fast. This could be a really good way to enhance your fat loss efforts by shortening your eating window and potentially reducing the number of calories you are consuming. You definitely don't need to use intermittent fasting that way, but you can if you wish. The next part of your cycle is known as ovulation. It's typically days 11 to 15, somewhere in there, but this is where your hormones are at their highest. So estrogen is peaking, testosterone is peaking. You're going to have that progesterone spike, once you have ovulated, but all of your hormones are high at this point. And when your hormones are high, especially estrogen, you want to lose it or use it and then lose it. So you want to use those hormones and then get them out of your system. You don't want them recycling back through. That's basically when you do have hormonal imbalance. You'll get some of those PMS symptoms, some of those terrible symptoms of ovulation. But my whole point is here that you really want to support your liver and gut, because those are the ways that your body processes those hormones and gets them out. So during this time, you want to increase your intake of cruciferous vegetables, bitter vegetables, foods high in fiber, so soluble fibers, beans, lentils, oats, those are very, very good. Pre and probiotic foods to support the gut, so high quality dairy could be good. Prebiotic foods like onions, fermented foods, things like that. But those are going to be your go-to foods as far as really supporting the liver and gut. And then lifestyle-wise, you're going to probably want to avoid alcohol. Alcohol, obviously your liver needs to process that alcohol before it's going to process those hormones. It's just another thing that your liver needs to deal with. Not having too much processed food, sugar, fast food, things like that. And of course, looking at your toxic load. Like, what is your life like? Are you using good quality beauty products, cleaning products? Are you breathing in chemicals all day as far as like scented candles and drinking out of plastic bottles. There's so many chemicals that our bodies need to deal with. So that would be something I would look at. But remember, your liver needs to process all of this stuff. And if it needs to process all of this stuff, it's not easily processing out those hormones. So at ovulation, you really shouldn't feel badly. And if you are having a tough time at ovulation, I would definitely look at your diet, look at your lifestyle, and try to clean it up a little bit because, yeah, I mean, you should not feel terrible at this point. But as far as fasting goes, this is where you might want to limit fasting a little bit, just because this is the time that, say you wanted to get pregnant, this is where it would happen. So if your body is super duper stressed, it's underfed, it's not ideal as far as a pregnancy goes. So with fasting, I would probably limit it to 13 to 15 hours, somewhere in there. You can do a little bit of fasting here if you like it. I just wouldn't do any sort of long fast. I wouldn't go over 16 hours or do a 24-hour fast or something like this, because you really want to support your body and what it's doing at ovulation. So you don't want to undereat and restrict and, have that long window where you're not consuming any food. Next up is the time right after ovulation. So I would say it's days 16 to 19-ish, but this is where hormones temporarily drop a little bit. And fasting might be okay here. It really depends on the individual. So this could be a time where you try out a 16-8 window. Maybe you go more moderate with the 13 to 15-hour fasting window. It's really kind of up to you. So you can try it out, feel how, figure out how you feel with it. Definitely pay attention to your biofeedback and how your body responds to that, because could be great, might not be great, but try it out, see how you feel. So the last part of the cycle is called the luteal phase. It's from days 20 to right before your period starts. And this is the time that you probably want to limit the amount of fasting that you do. So sticking to 12 hours or less is probably good. What we tell our clients is, if you have dinner at 7 o'clock at night, you'll have breakfast at 7 o'clock the next morning. And that is a pretty good window for a lot of people. It gives your digestion a chance to rest and digest, but you're not restricting so many calories. You don't have that long window. And in that second half of the cycle, you really want to support your progesterone. You want to make sure there's enough glucose in your diet to really give progesterone what it needs. And when I'm talking about glucose, coming from good carbohydrates, those slow digesting carbohydrates. So fruits and roots, starches, squashes, potatoes, sweet potatoes, root veggies, carrots, beans, lentils, that type of stuff. Anything that has some fiber in it and it's more slow digesting. Because at this phase of our cycles, a lot of women, we tend to be a little bit more inward. We tend to slow down. It might be a time in our cycles where we're not craving high intensity exercise. We don't really want to lift heavy things. We might prefer yoga or walking or things like that. And all of that is okay. I mean, your body is preparing itself to go into, menstruation, another phase where it does require some energy. So it's okay to slow down and really nourish your body with these types of carbohydrates. And restricting calories at this time can be really stressful. You might not actually be able to make as much progesterone. You might not be able to support that progesterone. You actually make that progesterone at ovulation, but still you want to be able to support it. And this is a time where adding some of those carbohydrates in can be really good and not restricting the amount of calories that you are consuming. So during this final luteal phase, less fasting is probably better, 12 hours or less. I think is probably a good place to be and can really support your hormonal balance. And I just want to reiterate that intermittent fasting is just one tool for fat loss. Remember that. There's a lot of different ways to lose weight. And if you are a woman who is still having a menstrual cycle, even though there are, good and bad times to practice intermittent fasting, longer and shorter, I don't think it needs to be exact. You should definitely feel out like how these fasting windows make you feel and how your body responds to them. And if you're not fasting at certain times during the month, so at ovulation and in the luteal phase, it doesn't mean that you're not making progress. You actually might be supporting your body and your hormones in a better way and not stressing out your body. So this is a way to really hack your cycle in intermittent fasting to get the best results. I think you actually might feel better too if you are working with your cycle instead of against it. So try this out. Let me know what you think. Definitely leave a comment if you have opinions on fasting in your cycle and what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And of course, these are general guidelines based off that, basic 28-day cycle. So, try this out. And of course, play with it, adjust as needed. And, certain days, this intermittent fasting is going to work great. You're going to feel amazing. And other days, you might need to shorten that window or eat a little bit more. But of course, listen to your body. As I always say, we are not robots. We are not supposed to eat and exercise and act the exact same way every single day. And especially when you're involving some hormones, it takes a little bit of trial and error and really tuning into that biofeedback and how your body is responding. So all this to say, this is general recommendations. Try it out, see how you feel, and I hope this was helpful. So if you really want to optimize your hormones and fat loss efforts, I have a great freebie for you. It's called 6 Signs of Hormonal Weight Gain and What to Do About It. So it gives you some signs and symptoms of hormonally driven weight gain, as well as some food lists as far as what to eat and some recipes to help you really optimize your nutrition and fat loss efforts. So grab it below. So if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please take a second to like it and subscribe so you are notified when future videos are released.